Welcome to our Docker Compose tutorial. In this video, we'll go through all the essential Docker Compose commands, explaining their purpose, syntax, and providing practical examples. Let's dive in. Let's see the first command, Docker Compose up. This command creates and starts containers. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose up command start with Docker Compose up keyword and options service. It starts all services defined in the Docker Compose YML file. Next command is Docker Compose down. Stops and removes containers, networks, images, and volumes. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose down command start with Docker Compose down keyword options. This command cleans up everything created by Docker Compose up. Next command is Docker Compose start. Starts existing containers for a service. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose start command start with Docker Compose start keyword service. It starts containers that were stopped but not removed. Next command is Docker Compose stop. Stops running containers without removing them. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose stop command start with Docker Compose stop keyword service. This command stops services but keeps their states intact. Next command is Docker Compose restart. Restarts running containers. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose restart command start with Docker Compose restart keyword service. Useful for applying configuration changes without recreating containers. Next command is Docker Compose build. Builds or rebuild services. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose build command start with Docker Compose build keyword options service. Builds images defined in the Docker Compose YML file. Next command is Docker Compose config. Validates and views the Compose file. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose config command start with Docker Compose config keyword options. Checks the configuration for errors and prints it. Next command is Docker Compose logs. Views output from containers. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose logs command start with Docker Compose logs keyword options service. Displays log output from services. Next command is Docker Compose PS. Lists containers. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose PS command start with Docker Compose PS keyword options service. Shows the status of containers. Next command is Docker Compose exec. Executes a command in a running container. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose exec command start with Docker Compose exec keyword options service command args. Runs commands inside running containers. Next command is Docker Compose run. Runs a one-off command. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose run command start with Docker Compose run keyword options service command args. Starts new containers for running specific commands. Next command is Docker Compose pause. Pauses services. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose pause command start with Docker Compose pause keyword service. Suspends running services temporarily. Next command is Docker Compose unpause. Unpauses services. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose unpause command start with Docker Compose unpause keyword service. Next command is Docker Compose pull. Pull service images. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose pull command start with Docker Compose pull keyword options service. Downloads images for services from registries. Next command is Docker Compose push. Pushes service images. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose push command start with Docker Compose push keyword options service. Uploads images to a registry. Next command is Docker Compose scale. Sets the number of containers for a service. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose scale command start with Docker Compose scale keyword service equals num, service equals num. Adjusts the number of running instances for a service. Next command is Docker Compose rm. Removes stopped service containers. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose rm command start with Docker Compose rm keyword options service. Delete stopped containers to free up resources. Next command is Docker Compose kill. Forces containers to stop. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose kill command start with Docker Compose kill keyword options service. Abruptly stops running containers. Next command is Docker Compose port. Displays the public port for a service. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose port command start with Docker Compose port keyword service private underscore port shows which port a service is accessible from. Next command is Docker Compose version, shows the Docker Compose version information. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose version command start with Docker Compose version keyword version, displays version details of Docker Compose. Next command is Docker Compose events, streams container events. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose events command start with Docker Compose events keyword, options, service, monitors real-time events from containers. Next command is Docker Compose top, displays the running processes. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose top command start with Docker Compose top keyword, service, lists processes running inside containers. Next command is Docker Compose images, lists images used by the services. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose images command start with Docker Compose images keyword, service, shows the images associated with services. Next command is Docker Compose help, provides help about commands. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose help command start with Docker Compose help keyword, command, displays detailed help for a specific command. Next command is Docker Compose config services, lists services defined in the Compose file. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose config services command start with Docker Compose config services keyword config services, outputs the names of all services. Next command is Docker Compose config the volumes, lists volumes defined in the Compose file. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose config volumes command start with Docker Compose config the volumes keyword config the volumes, displays the volumes configured in the Compose file. Next command is Docker Compose config hash, prints the service config hash. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose config hash command start with Docker Compose config hash keyword config the hash sad smiley service, outputs a hash of the service configuration. Next command is Docker Compose config resolve image digests, pin image tags to digests. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose config resolve image digests command start with Docker Compose config resolve image digests keyword config resolve image digests, resolves image tags to their digests. Next command is Docker Compose config quiet, only validate the configuration, don't print it. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose config quiet command start with Docker Compose config quiet keyword config quiet, silently validates the configuration. Next command is Docker Compose config profiles, lists profiles defined in the Compose file. Let's see the syntax. The usage of Docker Compose config profiles command start with Docker Compose config profiles keyword config profiles, shows all profiles configured in the Compose file.
If you have any question or any doubt, feel free to ask in the comment section below. I will answer you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. Bye and have a nice day.